This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to two various places, one being the Masai Mara, where we have 4 feeds coming from river cameras and another 2 feeds coming from vehicles in Juma, South Africa. This is Safari Live.
Ready.
Standing by.
Hello everyone and welcome on board this Sunset Safari. It is great to have you with us. I am in a slightly different spot that I'm used to, being up in the migration control room. This is James's usual hangout, and it's lovely to be in here. It provides us with such a unique way of looking into what is going on along the Mara River. Like I said, we've got 4 feeds dotted around strategic crossing points, giving us live feeds. The cameras have got incredible zoom and functionality. Check this out. So if we go back to the Giraffe, I'm going to zoom out now to give you a bit of perspective. I wasn't at full zoom. And there's this funny little joystick that is used to control the camera. Takes a bit of getting used to, so forgive me if I shake you around, but look at how cool that is. We've got serious zoom on these cameras, and we can keep an eye on, like I said, the main crossing points that the gnus, the zebras, Thomson's gazelle, and a host of other animals will use to cross from the Mara Reserve, which is on the right-hand side of your screen, to the west, which is the direction we're heading now, into the Mara Triangle, which is where we are situated. Very wonderful. Oh, there's a crocodile. Okay, well, while I work out how to get you a slightly closer view on this crocodile, we are going to send you down to South Africa to follow up with Taylor. She's looking for leopards.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to, of course, Safari Live. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Sebastian, and we're hoping to find all sorts of wonderful things. And I think we have already found the first animal, but it's not a mammal. It's a pair of African hawk eagles just on top of the knobthorn tree. Now remember, this is live and interactive. It's happening right now from South Africa as well as from Kenya, where you've already met Scott. You can hashtag Safari Live with any of your questions. Now, how cool is this? Mr. and Mrs. African hawk eagle in a tree. Now, I can hear some very soft sort of chirpy noises. And I wonder if they're coming from that nest. It doesn't sound like a bird that I know, so they could have young in there. It's about time. It's the breeding season. Let's see if we can hear it, if you guys can maybe hear it. Can you hear it, Seth?
I can, yes.
Isn't that amazing? Well, it might be a little bit difficult to hear, of course, because there's quite a bit of wind out here in the sands today. But I just think that this is very special. Now, I can't remember who found the African hawk eagle nest. It was quite some time ago. And we've been popping past here every now and then, but sadly we haven't been having much luck. Every time I have come past here, they haven't been sitting on the nest. I think it was with Sebastian a while ago when we were talking about how we wish we could see inside the nest. We wish it was a little bit lower down. But I'm sure there might be a chicken there. Now, typically they will lay 2 eggs, but whether both of them will survive, I suppose it depends on the parental care and how good of parents they are. Obviously, it's quite tough going in winter. There isn't much around, and they're typically feeding on rodents. They'll catch lizards and things too, squirrels. They'll go after anything that they can. I think there are chicks in there. I think that is them making that noise, but it's virtually impossible to see. Should we try and reposition and see if we can't maybe get a view on the other side? You see, obviously eagles don't make the neatest nests, as you can clearly see over there. Typically they're sort of platform nests, some built on tops of trees, some in the forks of trees. Maybe if we go around we can get a view into the nest from a different angle. Just gonna go up and around. My birdies. Well, they're not big eagles either, they're fairly small. I would say almost about the same size, maybe slightly bigger. Oh, now it's gonna be tough for the sun. Oh, we're not really going to win. I reckon the best time to actually come to this nest might be early in the morning when you don't have the sun glaring sort of into you. No, I don't think we're really going to get another view, I'm afraid. We can try, but I don't think it's going to be much better. I think if we come here first thing in the morning, the spot that we're sitting in now, the nest sort of seems to be quite untidy. And maybe there's a little gap. So you can just see the adult's head. Now, Kestrel Fox, you're wondering if the hawk eagles use the same nest every year. Most eagles will have maybe not just one nest site, but a couple of them, and they can rebuild them as they go, keep strengthening them. You can see, is that a chick or is that just... Sorry, I thought I saw something, but it's spider webs. I'm trying to stare into the monitor, but there's quite a glare. Some feathers and some bits of grass and things, but I can't see the movement of a chick unless one of the adults is actually sitting down up on top of them. But it is almost impossible to see inside there. Wouldn't that be amazing if I could climb all the way to the top without disturbing them, trying to figure out who exactly is inside there. You see, siblicide is also very common amongst the African hawk eagles, so you know, something like that could have happened already. We don't really know, of course. We can't see what's going inside, which is difficult, but we'll carry on. Maybe we'll come back a little bit later once the sun has decided to set a little bit further to the west. It might give us a better chance to look into that nest. Let's go across now to Tristan so he can officially say hello.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our Sunset Safari, as I'm sure Taylor and Scott have already welcomed you to. Now, as Taylor mentioned, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Craig, aka the Batman, and well, it hopefully will be a very entertaining drive. We're going to try and see if we can't find some of the spotted creatures, because Craig wants to see a guinea fowl, and well, I want to see leopards as per normal. So we're going to try and see if we can't find Hosanna from where Ali left him this morning. Now remember, this is live, it is interactive, which means hashtag Safari Live on Twitter should you want to get hold of us and ask us any questions, or at least say hello from where you're watching. Right, now we're down on the southwestern side of Juma, and I was hoping to find any signs of maybe shadow or any of the lions that tend to be hanging around Arathusa at the moment, as well as any sign of elephants. Unfortunately, at this stage though, our Ellies seem to be not on this side of the property, so I'm going to check towards Treehouse, down the southern boundary towards Twin Dams, and then go across to Chitwa Dam, and hopefully we'll get lucky with Hosanna and elephants playing down at the water. So that's going to be kind of the situation, and that's what we got to hope for and cross thumbs for, and that's the idea for the afternoon. Like I said, Craig wants his guinea fowl, so we'll have to look out for them as well. Approaching this little open section. Now normally this section that we're coming up to is a haven for all kinds of plains animals. We often see zebra, wildebeest, impalas spending a lot of time in this area, but it seems as though today there isn't very much lying around. It seems a bit barren here, so maybe that's a sign that something has walked through here. I'm going to try and check and see if there is, and while I do that, I believe Scott Dyson is watching the big toothy critters of the Mara River.
So, I promised that I would work out how to zoom you in and get you a little bit closer to these crocodiles. So here goes. Now it's interesting, most of the crocodiles at all the crossing points, and we'll take you through all of them as the afternoon goes along, but they are all out in the sun basking. And it's been a cold day, one of the coldest days we've experienced in weeks in the Mara. So, and we also had quite a lot of rain yesterday and the day before. So basically, I think these crocodiles are enjoying what little rays of sunshine are poking out, that literally the sun's only started to poke out and the clouds have only started to clear about half an hour ago. Other than that, it's been a gloomy, drizzly day, which has been wonderful for some little missions. I've been on a run this morning with Kirsty and Jerry, and we went exploring in a riverbed close to camp, which was very nice. And then I went out with Ferg a little bit later on to try and get some footage of a Narina Trogon. Sorry, not Ferg, Eggsy. Sorry, Eggsy, if you're watching. Eggsy's got the day off, so he came for a little mission into this valley just below camp, and we managed to see a Narina Trogon. I'm busy cutting together a video, but we only got a glimpse of it. This is another impressive bird, not as rare and secretive as the Narina Trogon, but this is a grey heron. And it interestingly flew into that spot where we can see it now because it tried to steal a fish from another predatory bird, which was lurking somewhere over here. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to see it. No, it's disappeared around the corner there, sadly. It was a yellow-billed stork, and it managed to catch a fish. And if birds take too long to gobble up their prey, other birds often catch wind and come in and try and steal it. So theft is commonplace out here in the African wilderness. Amongst all the carnivores, the mammalians, the birds, even the fish swimming in this river will compete with one another quite fiercely, so size matters. And we're at Main South Crossing here, for what that's worth, if some of you know the crossings a little bit better than others. And seeing as though there's no wildebeest that are evident from here in the Masai Mara, we may as well send you down to South Africa, where Tristan's managed to find some.
Well, this is probably our largest group of wildebeest that we have down here in Juma, so nothing like what we see in the Masai Mara, and I've been seeing some photos coming out of the Mara Triangle and Mara area, and it seems the herds are really being building up, and it looks as though there are some really big numbers coming through, which is fantastic news, and hopefully it will continue through the next few weeks across the TV shows for the team in Kenya, so that they can keep up with that whole mass migration and the event that is the migration. Now, this particular group of wildebeest, unfortunately for them, are a little bit shy of the vehicle, so they've stood up and moved out of the shade which they were sitting in and are now moving off into a thicket to try and sort of distance themselves from the vehicle. Now, unfortunately, I think these are the guys that were chased around by the lions the other night, or maybe one of the victims of the lions. I know that Ali and Taylor were both telling me that between the lions and the hyenas there was bits of wildebeest on quarantine, and so I think this is the herd that was chased, because this herd generally spends most of their time up on quarantine area, and it seems now they've pushed quite far south and are heading down and even further south away from quarantine, which would be expected if you were chased around by lions. I would also be heading in the opposite direction. But what is quite cool to see is that it looks like some of these wildebeest are already starting to show signs of being pregnant. You can see that female is just waddling off a little bit. Their tummies are starting to swell. Now, most of them will give birth around November, December time here in the Sabi Sands, and so I would imagine that the male wildebeest has been quite busy, and that means that some of these girls are starting to show signs of pregnancy. Ultimately, it's not that far away now if we think about how fast time goes, and soon they'll be really heavy, and when they get heavy like that, it's going to be the worst period for these females, because they're going to be hunted a lot more than they are now. At this stage of the game, the young ones that were born last year, November, December, are the ones that are being hunted excessively. So like that little one that's walking away there, that's what will be targeted by both lion, leopard, and even hyenas. But as these females get heavily pregnant, so they become much slower, and you'll find that the cats, as well as even the dogs, will start going after them and trying to tackle those females now that they're a bit slower. So it's going to be a tough time over the next 6 months for these wildebeest, and hopefully all will be sorted and they'll be able to stay safe, and that the herd will continue to grow, because like I say, it's probably our largest grouping that we do see here at Juma. They often come in from sort of Impala Plains area and then across and down towards quarantine. Now, Megan, if you're trying to talk to me, I do apologize, because I can't hear you at all. So it seems as though the comms are breaking up a little bit where I am at the moment. So hopefully Megan's not trying to talk to me. but they are disappearing a little bit into a thicket, so I'm going to carry on and see if I can't just get round, because there is a little fire break that runs just in front of us here, and so if I can get across to where the fire break is and go round, I should be able to get a better view of the herd coming towards us rather than away from us. This is exactly the herd that I was talking about earlier. I was saying that there would be wildebeest and impalas that often hang around this area, and so they were just a little bit further south than I first thought. Oh, oopsie. Now I gave a little steenbok a fright. It's just on the road here. There we go. It was lying in the shade as well. Sorry, girl. And you can see it's a girl, no horns on top, and I'm sure the male must be here as well. I've seen this pair of steenbok multiple times in this particular section. They often are around the fire break and on the junction with Zoe's, and they spend a lot of time in these thickets. And they must have a tough time of it because, well, Shadow and Cub also spend a lot of time here too. Now, our steenbok, unfortunately, are not the most relaxed animals, and they tend to move off quite quickly, and so we're going to carry on, see what else we can find, and I believe Scott has found the biggest of the big in terms of the crocodiles in the Mara.
Well, this certainly is a monster of a crocodile. I would guess somewhere around maybe 12 meters in length. It's an absolute monster. No, 12 meters is far too much. 12 meters is far too big. Excuse me. Probably closer to around 6 or 7 meters. And as you can see, as I zoom out, there are a whole bunch more also sunning themselves, just like the others at Main South. Here they are Goliaths. I mean, look at the size of these creatures. Ah, there's a little bird. To give you some perspective, let me zoom on in. Is it a bird? Yes, it looks like a lapwing. Ah. Now, I hope it's just relaxing there and doesn't have a nest, that little bird. Hello, snazzy Zeph, or eggs. I can't quite... Zep. Wonderful to have you with us. You wondering if the crocodiles ever get tired of the water? And I guess they do. When it's cold on a day like this, they will get tired of the water and move out onto the banks, as you can see, as they are cold-blooded reptilian beasts, and they need to warm up with the help of the sun. So there's been a combination of crocodiles being in the water and out the water. I'm sure these ones would slither in quite happily if they, of course, managed to get lucky and have some wildebeest and zebra decide to cross here. But for now, I think most of the crocodiles in the entire Mara are all doing the same thing. We've had about 24 hours of cold weather, quite a lot of rain yesterday, and it seems like the order for the day. Also, another thing to remember is these crocs have had a lot to eat. They'll be eating a lot more in the coming weeks, but for now, they've already had quite a few easy meals of animals coming and trying to cross this river from the side that we're looking at towards us. That's been the main channel of crossing. It will change over time, though, and we'll have them crossing back to the east once they've come and depleted the food in the Mara Triangle, where we are here. Aha! Hello to Mercedes, and you are wondering if there are ever crossings that happen at night. And that's something that a lot of people have asked, and we're also very interested in. We've heard that they do happen, but there's no actual evidence or footage thereof. And there's even quite a few people, researchers, people that spend a lot of time in the Mara, that have asked us that same question when they've heard that we've been spending nights out. Sadly, we haven't been lucky enough to capture a crossing on our nights out so far. However, it will happen at some point, which is very exciting. Now, I'm going to continue to scan these banks in the hope that we may find some action. But in the meantime, Kristen has found some warthogs.
Well, we did have a warthog, Scotty, but it ran away, so now I'm trying to just see if I can't get another visual of it. It's typical with these things. It's often the case with warthogs. You've got to be a bit careful with them because sometimes you put them on screen and then they just run from you. And it's because there was an aeroplane that came over. There was the last flight of the day that brings guests into this area. Do you see where it went, Craig? Can you see it? No. Well, it's disappeared. It's run off deeper into the bush, and we're not going to be able to see it where it's gone. All I can see is a little tail that's disappearing into that thicket deeper. And oh wait, actually, there we go. We can actually see its bum if we stop right about there. Can you see it, Craig? There it is, just waddling off deeper into the long grass and disappearing. So there was a warthog. I didn't make it up, and it was actually very, very relaxed warthog. It was sitting right next to the road in the shade of a termite mound feeding, and then the plane came over, and well, warthog decided, I'm having none of that, and off it went southwards towards Little Gowrie. I don't know what happens at Little Gowrie. There must be some magic that takes place there, because the animals seem to head there quite often. I think it's probably due to the fact that there is a really large waterhole there in the center of Little Gowrie. It's a beautiful big waterhole called Treehouse Dam, so not the same one that we see here on Juma, and it's actually a pumped waterhole, which means that it gets fresh water pretty much every day. And so for a lot of the bigger animals, things like elephants, fresh water being pumped is a lot tastier than going to a muddy wallow that a buffalo has been laying in, or another elephant has been sitting in and defecating and urinating in. So that's why they tend to go to those pumped pans, because the water is a lot fresher and a lot cleaner, and you'll find they'll drink right from where the pipe actually comes out and into the water hole itself. So it is a common place to see a lot of animals around there, and I'm sure that's why we see a lot of them going that way. Now I'm just checking on Shabamu, because this is a good place for leopard tracks coming in and out. We know Hassan and Shongile like to use this area, and so while I have a closer inspection and see what's been moving around, let's go across to Taylor McCurdy and see what her plans are and where she's bumbling and whether she's seen anything this afternoon.
It's actually been fairly quiet. We've been just driving up and down Cheetah Cutline at the moment, because apparently there were reports of a leopard crossing in this morning at Central from Torchwood, but I haven't seen any tracks whatsoever, unless they've been trodden on, which, well, I suppose is a possibility too. We did have a big thermal of vultures flying above us, but they seem to have split up and gone their separate ways. They weren't diving down to the ground either, so I think it was just a late afternoon sort of soaring session that they were up to. Now what we're going to do is we're going to head towards Buffels Hook Dam. We're just on the last stretch now of Cheetah Cutline, just to have a look around here. Like Tristan was saying, the animals like to go to the dams that are being pumped, filled with fresh water. Now that's not happening at Buffels Hook Dam, but it's definitely got quite a large amount of water in, which makes for a good area for elephants to swim in. We don't have too many deep dams around here, so I think it's a goodie. Who do we have? There's some crested Francolins, but they're all underneath all the shrubs, so it's very difficult to see them. So we're just going to go along Hippo Pools Road now, and then hopefully we'll find some elephants. It does look like there's a couple of antelope tracks and elephant tracks heading down this way. Maybe we'll get lucky and catch them in the act. Anyways, I'm going to send you back across to Scott now in the Mara, who's got an antelope species we don't get here.
Hello and welcome back. I am envious of Taylor driving down Hippo Pools Roads. It's one of my favorite roads on Juma. So lots of happy memories from there. And like Taylor said, we are lucky in that we do have a few species up here that the guys down at Juma don't see, and vice versa. This being one of them, the Thomson's Gazelle. I love them because they're always wagging their tail and remind me of a happy Jack Russell. Yes, you look kind of Jack Russell-like. Oh, photobomb! Awesome. I didn't plan that. And what a pleasant surprise. Huge male giraffe just popped into frame. So we'll drift off from the Tommies and move on to this majestic giraffe. We could actually see this giraffe from the main south camera, and it's now popped up to the main north camera, which is a little bit further upstream. And he's not alone. There's another bull following him. There's two of them meandering along the river, looking for snacks. And they've actually been around quite a while. This is one animal that would be interesting to see cross the river, because they really do battle if there's any slippery rocks. And if a giraffe falls in a stretch of the river where there are slippery rocks, they often cannot get up, which obviously creates quite a distressing scene because it can take quite some time for the giraffes to die. And then it also can be tricky because the predators battle to be able to actually get to the kill sometimes. Well, that's in areas where there's not gigantic crocodiles like here, so I guess they'll make short work of this beast if it were to slip. But let's not think about horrible thoughts of a giraffe slipping in the river. It is a reality, though. I know he's a male because he's got no hair on the top of those two horn-like structures on his head. Let me see if I can get you a little bit closer in there to what are called the ossicones. Oh, hello, Paula. I certainly agree with you. You say that he's looking very majestic, so I'm just tweaking the focus there manually. And I agree, he did look like a king patrolling his lands. He is a dark specimen. You get slightly lighter specimens than him, and I prefer the dark ones. They do look like they are the most majestic. Marvelous. Okay, let me zoom out and see what else is happening. Hello to Lisa. You would like to know what one of the most exciting things is that Juma does not have. I'm going to tell you two things. I'm going to tell you what I miss the most about not being in Juma, and I'm going to tell you one of the things that I love the most about being here in the Mara. And the Mara has allowed us to do some different things, one of which is spending nights out with animals, with infrared and thermal imaging. The thermal imaging we're using more just to help us locate the animals instead of using a spotlight, so it's far less intrusive that way. We are hoping that we can connect a live feed from the thermal camera, so you both get a thermal feed, which picks up obviously any hot images or hot things, as well as an infrared feed, which is a low light camera essentially, or that can operate in infrared light. And basically this has allowed us already some really interesting insight into what the animals get up to after dark. We followed 5 male cheetahs from sunset until 11 p.m. on a pitch black evening, no moonlight to assist them. So I think we are going to debunk quite a few myths. We're going to get to the bottom of questions like whether migrations do happen. Crossings do happen. We do know that migration does happen. So that's one thing that I love about here, the nights out. I mean, guys can do that in Juma, but not as easily as we have access to here. The other thing that we are greatly fortunate is the amounts of land we get to traverse here. We get to traverse huge amounts of land. Oh, sorry, Kirsty, are you with the zebra? Let me go back. Whoopsie. The joystick was controlling itself there. Let me zoom in on the zebras. Sorry. So that is one of the main things that I love about being here, the freedom to explore a massive traverse and be able to do it after dark. Hello, Zebbies. Are you thinking about doing a crossing? We would much appreciate that. It would be very exciting. We will be shouting for you all the way. The crocodiles have had enough to eat. Now, one of the things that I miss the most about not being at Juma is the ability to walk on foot. The bushwalks are one of my favorite ways to be able to take you guys on safari. So I really do miss that. And then another thing which I guess is related to being on foot is that, you see they're quite far from the crossing, so it looks like they're just making their way upstream, those zebbies. Another big thing that I love about being on foot is that you can actually track animals, whereas here in the Mara, tracking animals is not very feasible. There's just so much grass, so few areas where there's sandy patches to actually follow the tracks. And there's a lot more rules here, different rules that don't allow us to be out of the vehicle. So I'm really missing the art of tracking, walking around on foot. It's one of the most exhilarating things you can do. And often when we're driving around here and I hear that Tristan or Taylor or Ale are on leopard tracks or lion tracks, I am hugely envious. But the plan is that we are all going to share the joys of both locations, and people are going to be able to take turns in coming up here and vice versa, and that way it's going to keep us all fresh. Oh, wrong way. I'm going to drop down like that, a bit too much. Sorry about this, guys. As you can see, I need some practice. Hello to Anne, who's just 5 years old. It's wonderful to have you on safari with us. You're wondering if the hair on the giraffe's horns is soft. And yes, when there is hair on top, it will be soft and fluffy. I guess I've never actually felt one's horns, to be honest. But the females have got a tuft of hair, whereas the one that we're looking at now is a male, and he's got no hair on the top of its head, which is often similar to us as humans. The old men go bald, and the women still have hair. So it's the same with giraffe. And yes, there is a little tuft of fur on top that I'm guessing will be quite soft. Okay, well, it sounds like Tristan's found something interesting. I didn't copy exactly what it was, but hurry on down and have a look for yourself.
In winter months, as we are now, we get these beautiful blue skies, and generally the bush itself looks quite drab and brown and not very good at all. But there is one plant that does start to flower in our winter months, which is a little bit unusual, and you can see it there with the bright yellow that's contrasting against the blue, and that is the knobthorn. So the knobthorns are starting to flower. In fact, they should have started a few weeks ago already. It's quite common to see them flowering in July, but generally the peak of their flowering period is now in August, and this is going to be a hive of activity for all of those insects and birds that have been waiting for nectar and for pollen and all of the other kind of things. So we'll find bees, we'll find wasps, varying kinds of butterflies, as well as the mammals themselves. So you're going to find giraffe are the big exponents of knobthorns. You'll often find them reaching up, and if we look at the bottom branches of this knobthorn, so the lowest branch that there is, which is in range for an elephant or a giraffe, there you go. They are absolutely bare. There is no flowers whatsoever there. So those have all been eaten by varying predators of this tree, which would, like I say, would most likely have been a giraffe or maybe an elephant that would have eaten it. And then as you just get out of reach of them, slowly the flowers then start again and all the way up to the top. But this particular knobthorn is really boasting a heavy load of flowers, and there are a lot of insects actually buzzing around in that knobthorn. It's just, unfortunately, we can't get close enough with the camera to show you, but I've seen a few wasps flying around, and there was one or two butterflies there earlier, so very nice to see. And it just breaks the sort of monotony of the beiges and the dead drab grass when you start to see beautiful flowers like that. Now there is one other flower that we do get, unfortunately not very many of them here in Juma, that flower in the winter that are brightly colored and beautiful, and that is called an impala lily. Now the impala lilies, you see them a lot in the southern part of the Sabi sands, and in fact another name for them is the Sabi star, because of their proximity in the Sabi area where the river actually starts, and there's lots of them up there, and they have a beautiful sort of maroon and white flower. It is very pretty, and you'll find that they flower in the winter months, and it's one of those really good looking flowers, and because it's dry you actually notice them a lot more. The other one that does flower at that time is also the Kudu lily, which looks very similar in the shape of the tree. It just gets a little bit larger, and it has big long spikes on the plant itself, and the flower it doesn't have any maroon. It produces a big white flower about the size of my hand that comes out. So also a very pretty plant that flowers in the winter months. So Roshni, the summer will begin in Juma. Hopefully, if we're lucky and we get the rains at the right time, that summer should actually start around October is when we start to get our first rains. But we get spring, which is normally a very short period, and that's September, and it's a few weeks and it's over, and then we go into our summer temperatures and hopefully summer rainfall. So it then starts in October and will extend all the way through until March next year. So the complete opposite to the northern hemisphere in terms of our summer and winter. Now I'm checking very carefully because as we're going, I'm hoping to see if I can't find any signs of leopard tracks. We know Tundi uses this area a lot, but what I am seeing is a lot of vervet monkey tracks, and the vervet monkeys, I'm pretty sure, are following this road because of the number of knobthorns that were flowering behind us, and so they've gone there to go and feed off those knobthorn flowers, and then they go back up towards Terrapin to go and actually have a drink. So quite common to see that when you've got flowering plants, lots of baboons, monkeys that will move around quite a bit. Now I believe Miss McCurdy has found something with feathers and might fly, so let's quickly go over to her and see what she's got.
The feathers seem to be the ones that don't mind us. Today we've got Coqui Francolins, and we had a total of 3 of them. This one is kind enough to wait in the road for us. And then we had that very interesting sighting the other day of the Coqui Francolins, which was really cool, where we had so many different females, so many males, all in the area. This one, I wonder if it doesn't quite look like an adult just yet. You see that got quite a bit of white around its eye? It's quite interesting. Typically the males have got a completely orange head. I'm just trying to find a photo of a juvenile. I wonder if this is not a female, or going to be a female. I just feel like they're white markings, and you can start to see a bit of the black also developing on the face there, and almost a different coloured top on the head. So I don't think that this is an adult, which is actually quite interesting. So now I'm trying to figure out, maybe it's the last of the chick, but I thought it's a little bit too early for them to have already laid their eggs. Let me quickly check. I just want to check one thing. If they do have when they lay eggs here in South Africa, they're being very quiet. They're not making too much noise like they typically do. And there's another one. Yeah. Normally, it's early summer. Well, we're far from summer. That's definitely a female. So I think it must have been a male and female and they're juvenile. Jenny Animation, it's great to hear from you. You said that you've never seen one of these birds before. They've got a beautiful call too. Let's see if we can get another view. They're moving into this burnt section now. Let's see if I can find them again. There's one. There's a female. And there was an adult male here at 1.2. It's just very camouflaged. But they've moved off. So there seems to be a few of them. They're definitely sort of preparing for courtship, I reckon. We've been just seeing a lot of activity, calling, males responding, females responding. We've had some great sightings of them. Aren't they pretty? Now they're moving through the burn section just like a lot of the other bird species are doing. We're typically seeing it with, of course, the southern ground hornbills searching for insects. Well, hopefully they might actually find some crispy grasshoppers if they look carefully enough. Now take care, you're wondering if these birds fly. They do indeed. They're sort of like chickens. They do spend most of their time on the ground, and they forage on the ground like this by kicking open leaves and dung and all that type of thing. And then at night they will roost in trees, just like chickens do. They'll roost up on a structure of some sort. So when they're desperate and when they really need to get away, they will fly. So that's always a good indication. When you hear these birds making a sort of nervous alarm call and they're sitting in a tree, you know that there's something that was on the ground that startled them. But they didn't stay for very long, but nice bird. We might just have to do some birding today. I think it's going to be one of those days until maybe the sun sets. And hopefully some lions come back across, or we find a leopard, which would be very nice. We'll do one more check down, cheetah, cut line, have a little squiz. If not, we'll go towards the hyena den. I'm going to send you across to Scott now, who is finding all the animals for the day.
Well, Taylor, thank you for your kind words, but I really enjoyed that Coqui Francolin you've just found, and I feel that you are going to get lucky in the quest to find us some interesting things in Juma. Now, the zebra are playing around a bit with one another. It seems like one or two stallions maybe in and amongst this herd. They were kind of trying to buck and kick and bite one another earlier. So that was quite interesting to see. What else would be interesting to see is, as I zoom out, you'll see that they're not far from the water's edge. They have appeared from over that horizon, and who knows, maybe in a short while they will decide to come and skip across these rapids. It's one of my favorite rivers for filming crossings because they literally come straight down the barrel across these rapids that you're looking at now, and then often slip and slide on these rocks over here before they make their way out to the left. So that is what we are hoping to possibly see a little bit later on. Dead-headed Tom, you are wondering what happens with carcasses that may drown and then get kind of clogged up in and along the Mara River course. It's Something that is a reality year in and year out. And interestingly, about a week ago, I think, we saw within 15 minutes, 20 minutes of parking on the Mara Bridge, which is on the southern. And obviously a whole wildebeest crossing had happened upstream. We're not sure exactly where, but a lot of these poor animals drowned. And when I say a lot, I'm talking hundreds of them. In one raft, basically, I counted just one bunch floating down the river. There was 20. So quite scary scene, spooky scene, seeing all these wildebeest just getting tumbled down the rapids, floating down the river. And I'm guessing at least 300 to 500 wildebeest drowned in that one sitting. And a lot of them do get caught in branches, in eddies along the river. And the answer to your question is that no, nobody clears them out. Mother Nature is left to do with that. And sadly, not sadly, but interestingly, there's just an oversupply of food. So the crocodiles already had so much to eat, the fish have had so many things to eat, the vultures have had so much to eat, that basically a lot of the carcasses will begin to rot, and they take quite some time to decay and eventually get broken down. Okay, so I'm holding thumbs that these zebra decide to come and join us on the western side in the Mara Triangle by crossing this river, but only time will tell. And in the meantime, we will be sending you back down to South Africa.
So we're sitting with, there's actually a variety of antelope around here. We've got this herd of waterbuck that have now very rudely disappeared behind some bushes. Well, you won't be able to see the others just yet, but let me just quickly tell you what we've got here. So we've got this herd of waterbuck, many females accompanied by a big male. Very impressive. It's actually one of the largest herds of waterbuck we got. Then there was a couple of zebra running around, as well as some impala. But they got quite a big fright. I think it was from us at one point. Oh, Seb, I don't think you're going to see them very well. They're hiding. You can just see the zebra. But everything's moving away from us now. And I think they got a bit too excited. They're all hanging around in this burnt area. And normally after fires, once the birds have come through, obviously everything's cooled down. You will find lots of different mammal species coming through. But except it's typically good when they do it after we've had a bit of rain, because imagine the ground is so fertile. Lots of new green grass shoots will actually pop. And then they'll nibble on those. But they've got quite a while to go before we will expect any rain out here, at least until the end of August. Maybe some early rains in September would be quite nice, but you'll find that these areas will be areas where the animals will sort of move through, and they'll be here first. I'm just trying to work out, they're still quite jumpy, so I don't know if there's something that maybe passed through this area a little bit earlier today, because it's fairly in the open. It doesn't look like it doesn't do it much justice with all these little bush willows and things that the elephants have pushed over, but it is fairly open. Let's go around, maybe we can get a better view if everything does not run away from us. Just gotta find a gap. Now, Sinek, you're wondering, how do I identify male and female waterbuck and zebra so easy? Well, waterbuck, it's particularly easy to do it because the males have got horns and the females don't have any horns, so that's quite easy. The zebras is slightly tricky. Stallions, you've got to think like horses, big strong necks, big powerful hindquarters. They just look a lot more muscled up than a mare would. And then also now we can start to see the bulging on the mares. A lot of them are in foal. This looks like it is a stallion standing in front of me, but also because the men, or the stallions, have a big black lack the big black stripe on their rear ends underneath their tails that the females have. And also they're not necessarily right in the herd unless he's paying his favorite mare some attention. Otherwise they'll stand on the outside. They're always keeping watch, making sure no predators are coming through, and also looking out for potential competitors, other stallions that would want to come and try and take his herd from him. He looks like he's in fairly good nick though. He doesn't look particularly old. If it is a stallion, I can just sort of see from here, and it does look quite stallion-like. You remember yesterday we had a very nice sighting on the Sunset Safari of an old stallion. He had tattered ears, lots of battle wounds. He wasn't quite as good looking as this fella is in front of us. And also the attitude I find of the stallions is a lot more stubborn than that of the mares. And they're not in a hurry to move off of the roads. They do what they want whenever they want. and you've sort of just got to abide by them. And we're quite close to him as well. We're not very far at all, about 20 meters away, and he does not seem perturbed by us at all. So I can't work out why all those animals got such a big fright earlier. There we go. Now you can see he's a stallion. You also have to look for the stallion bits, which is fairly easy to spot when they stand sideways, or, well, when they use the facilities too, then you can spot it. He looks like he's maybe had a bit of a dust roll today. Not just the shadow stripe that's making him dirty, but he does look particularly dusty. And, well, that tail is swishing. You can see how he's tensing up his muscles, causing them to twitch. Also another tactic to try and get rid of the flies that are sitting on your shoulder, on your neck, in areas that you can't reach with your long tail. Although these zebras don't actually have that long tails. I'd make sure that I grew my tail as long as I could to be the most effective fly swatter. Isn't that beautiful? He's turning back, checking up on his mare. Something's caught his attention. You see that? Charging over. Let's go and see what he's going to do. If he's going to greet them, or if he's spotted an intruder. It's not a... oh no, he just wanted to use the facilities in that exact spot. No, he's finished. Trying to think. I think there's only about 5 or 6 of them around here, and I think they might go down to Buffelshoek Dam at some point. We'll just try and roll in here quietly and see if we can get a view. I don't know why that stallion is moving off in such a hurry, but that's quite nice. Look at this beautiful waterbuck. Very nice sort of grouping of animals here, don't you think? And he's also keeping a close eye on us. He's paying us more attention than the zebra stallion was. He wasn't too bothered. Maybe they were just resting out in the open here today. That's also a possibility. And now they're ready to move on. I'm just starting to see all the waterbuck now also use the luxury facilities, and typically just before animals go on the move. Buffalo are a good example of this. They normally sort of lighten the load. Now, Bree, you're wondering if the zebra stripes ever go grey or sort of faded as they get older. I haven't particularly noticed it too much with zebra, but unfortunately I don't think the animals out here get to live to a very, very old age. I think the sort of death rate amongst zebra and impala, waterbuck, all these different animals, I don't think they necessarily are reaching their sort of maximum lifespan, and that's just purely because of the amount of predators around here. And you will get spotted when you're sort of hanging towards the back of the herd, all these different types of things, and you will get taken out. Let me go forward, get some impala. Have a very quick look at the other animals here. Whee, sorry, animals, that was a bit fast. It's a very nice stallion, in fact. He just gave us a little bit of a snort. I think they are. Look like they're going to go straight towards Buffelshoek Dam, but these animals can take their time. Anyways, we'll see what they get up to. We might head back down towards the hyena den now and investigate the northwestern corner of the property. Scott is also looking at some zebra, but they're much closer to the water than my zebra.
Well, yes, our zebra are much closer to the water, and our water here in the Masai Mara is laden with far more dangerous creatures than that of Buffelshoek Dam. So, if these zebra do pluck up the courage to cross this river, we could well see some ginormous crocodiles slithering into the water and then attempting to catch them. Now, you may wonder how a crocodile manages to take down such a large beast. Well, it's the fact that they are so big themselves. And let me show you a little monster that's just lying nearby over here in the water. Look at that. There he goes. You can see him down there. Oh, whoopsie. I'm pushing the wrong buttons here. Apologies. So there's a big monster croc lying not too far, and he could cause a lot of damage to one of those zebras if they are not careful. Now, judging by their behavior, I've got a feeling that they may cross. They seem kind of like they're getting a bit worked up. I think they're kind of taking it out on one another. And they had a bit of a standstill now, but they have made their way a lot closer to the water's edge. So, exciting prospects. It's just a small herd of zebra. Hello to Cheryl. You would like to know if I've ever seen any animals return into the water to try and rescue their buddies from the jaws of the crocodiles. And no, not that I've seen, but I have not seen too many crossings thus far, and it is something that could happen. I would put my money on these animals, zebras, trying to defend possibly a young foal if it gets caught. But to be honest, it's such a state of chaos when the animals are crossing the river. It would be a small miracle if a mother did realize it got separated from its calf or foal. So, no, I don't think it's a hugely likely probability due to, like I said, the state of chaos, the flowing water, all the other noises and sounds that are happening. But Mother Nature has a way of often proving us wrong, and I hope she does. That would be an incredible thing to see. So far, if any animals are unluckily gripped by the vice-like jaws of the crocodile, that's usually the kind of last we see of them, unless, of course, they do manage to break free on their own accord, which does happen from time to time. I have seen one big zebra get away. He was left with some fairly substantial wounds on his neck, and we'll never know if he managed to survive them or not. But at least he did escape the initial onslaught. Let me think about seeing what's happening at the other river cams. I'm just scanning across. There's 4 of them. If any of you have just joined, these are strategically situated river cams, allowing us some great views and insight into the river crossings that happen here in the Masai Mara. This is the Mara River. It's not flowing as powerfully as it usually would at this time of the year. It's been a dry year in Kenya, so the wildebeest and zebra have got it easy compared to how it can be when the river's flowing more quickly and with more volume of water. I guess it may also make the crocodiles' lives a little bit more tricky in some instances, and then also in other instances a little bit easier, because as soon as the crocodiles have some depth, that gives them the upper hand against their quarries, who rely on standing on the ground to try and break free. Ah, here's some hippopotamus. How awesome is the zoom on this camera? It's incredible how it can teleport us around these river crossings. And hopefully I'll be able to find you some more interesting creatures that dwell along this river. But in the meantime, Tristan seems to have found one down in South Africa.
Well, once again, I'm not lying. There really is a water monitor there. You can just see its back sticking up over the mud. It was far more out in the open, and it's just decided to creep up the side there. I'm going to try go forward just a little bit because a change of angle might work here. Unfortunately, it's moved a little bit towards this little cave that they have in the bank. I'm going to try and turn you, Craig, see if we can't get a view. No, can't see it from there. This is not ideal. Our poor monitor has gone, I think, into the hole, which seems to be the sort of way things have gone today. Well, we can see its tail from here at least. We can't see much else, but we can see a tail that is just sticking out along there with a little terrapin swimming next to it. So it's got a little friend on the water side of things. There's the tail and there's the terrapin drifting along, kicking like he just doesn't care. There we go. Now we're going to go down. Oh, no. What are you doing? Terrapin almost looks as though it's stuck with its backside with too much air. It was trying to sort of fin down, and it didn't go very well at all. I'm going to come back to this land rather. I think that's a better idea, Terrapin. You're very confused as to what's going on. There we go. Now let's see if it's going to crawl out and sun itself. Now both of these creatures are reptilian in nature, which means that they both require sun to be able to warm up, to get their body system going, and to be able to move around and actually actively look for food as well as reproduce or any other kind of movement that they want to do. And so you will find them both spending a lot of time on the banks sunbathing. The water monitor seems to just be moving slightly. I wonder if it's going inside the cave. Terrapin's interested to see what's happening as well. I wonder if they're friends like the hippo and the terrapin are that we saw last week. But it seems the go-to place for this water monitor lizard. Every time I come here, this particular one, which is the smaller of the monitor lizards that we've seen here, and it goes straight into that hole and then hides out, and it kind of will take refuge in there. And I wonder if it's just its way of staying safe. There, it's just lifted its head up now to see us, which is quite nice. So we can see that it's a water monitor just from its head itself. It's got that nice pointed, sharp head. The rock monitors have a much more rounded, bulky head, and it's also got a lot more coloration than we'll see on the rock monitors. The rock monitors tend to have that blunt, round, sort of grey head, whereas these guys have got a bit of yellow in them. See, Nak, you're wondering, are water monitors vulnerable to crocodiles, because you know that they predate the eggs of the crocodile themselves? Well, I would imagine if a crocodile could grab a water monitor, it would most certainly eat it. Crocodiles are very opportunistic predators, and they will take almost anything that ventures towards water. So undoubtedly there has been a couple of water monitors that have met an end from a crocodile. But on land, you'll find that a lot of the time those female crocodiles are big, bulky individuals, which means that they end up being a little bit slower on land than something like this water monitor. This water monitor will be able to move a lot, and so even though it goes after the eggs, you'll find that it's not going to actively be hunted by crocodiles, because it'll move a lot faster when it tries to raid a nest of a crocodile itself. But in water, potentially I would imagine crocodiles could hit the upper hand and maybe catch a few monitor lizards. Their number one predator is not going to be a crocodile. They're going to be able to sort of hang around in places like this, and we know this particular water source in the last, I would say, probably 3 months, we have not even seen any evidence of crocodiles here. So their bigger predators are going to be leopards in this area, birds of prey, snakes even to a degree. You'll find big pythons might be a problem for a monitor lizard. So they've got a lot of other things to worry about other than crocodiles. So Andy, you're asking, are terrapins basically soft-shelled turtles? Well, Andy, no, not actually. So a terrapin refers to these animals that we get here in Africa in particular. They are other parts of the world, but it's basically an in-between of a turtle and a tortoise. So tortoise spend all their time on land. Turtles spend all their time in water, other than when they want to breed. Then you'll find turtles will pull themselves up onto a beach to breed and then back into water itself. But they really are more aquatic than anything else. Whereas terrapins are equally at home on land and water. So I suppose in some parts of the world they might be called a soft-shelled turtle. But here in Africa they refer to as terrapins, and they are not turtles at all. They're a different, well, they're classed as a different species, and you'll find that they'll be equally at home as on land as they are in water. We don't know them as soft-shelled turtles, should I say, in this particular part of the world. I mean, you can see it almost looking for something in the soil there. You'll find they sometimes will hunt under the water surface. They find little worms or any sort of organism that's coming out of the bottom of the water or out of that base of this water hole, and they'll actually grab them. And they're a nightmare for the fishermen in this area, because if fishermen use worms, often the terrapin come and grab them and they get hooked on the hook themselves. And a terrapin is a stinky animal and not something that you want to try and pull off of a fishing line. So look at this one doddering out onto the bank. They are not the prettiest of animals, that's for sure. They got a bit of a dopey look to them, that bright yellow eye, and then those claws that come off. I quite like terrapins, though. They seem to always be up to something. I particularly enjoyed that one with the hippo last week. There was, for those of you that didn't see, a terrapin that climbed on top of a hippo's head and was just sitting there. No matter what the hippo did, this terrapin clung on for dear life, and every now and then it fell off, unfortunately, but it was straight back towards the hippo. And so they always seem to be up to something. They seem to go towards the monitor lizard. The only thing they won't go towards is crocodiles and leopards. We know that Hassan and Shongile have been terrorizing terrapins in this particular area. You find them hunting them quite effectively. But these terrapins are clever. They'll go into a big water source like this, which is far too deep for Shongile and Hosanna, and we know that Shongile and Hosanna have both bumped into a crocodile here before, and so they'll know that they'll be a bit more wary of this waterhole. They'll rather hunt in the small water section on the other side of Twin Dams, which is a lot shallower and less likely to house a crocodile and be a lot safer. Now, talking of that area, I want to quickly just go and have a little look here on our left, just to see if there isn't any sign of Hosanna or Shongile lying in the shade. There's a little thicket here that they like to use, so it's the perfect place for them to sit and rest. We found Hosanna, both of them often lying in this area, so I just want to have a quick check of that section. And it's a difficult area because of how dense it is. Often the leopards, if they lie in it properly, you really battle to actually see them. It's not an easy place to see a leopard, and you find people drive past them quite often. I know I've driven past one of them before as well. So I want to just quickly have a look. And while I do that, I believe Taylor is still bumbling about. I wonder if she's still on the track of those elephants, or whether or not she's managed to find something.
Sadly not. There's many elephant tracks all over the property today, but I can't seem to find them. However, we did just have some female leopard tracks, but again, I'm slightly confused because they're on the fire break between Mvubu Road and Gowrie Cut Line. Now the problem there is that it doesn't get driven very often, so those tracks could be from the other day and they've just sort of been concealed. So we'll come back a little bit later. We'll do another loop around Gowrie Cut Line back towards Central. We'll do a couple of loops around there, but for now I think we're going to make our way towards the hyena den. We've still got quite a way to go, but we'll get there eventually. Lots of birds around, but none that really want to see still. Plenty of African grey hornbills, which is quite nice. We've had some great sightings of them over the last few days. So they're coming back out again to play ball, which is really great to watch them. But we'll head down towards Shortcut Gallagher. And I don't understand where all these elephants have gone, and they say just in these massive blocks that are inaccessible to us. And the reason why I say this is because I've just about driven the entire northern boundary now, and hasn't been one track that's crossed out or crossed back in, but I've seen lots of tracks moving around, and everybody's been doing a pretty good job of driving about on all the roads at the moment. We'll just have to see. Keep going. Looking very open and very clear, which is nice. It means the spotting game is going to get easier and easier as we go along. Now, Jenny Animation, you're wondering if animal droppings could be used as a way to track them. Oh, most certainly. But unfortunately, the only problem though with that is that they'll defecate in one spot unless you're an elephant or a giraffe or even a kudu and you take a couple of steps as you do defecate. Otherwise, you need to look for the footprints. The footprints are going to be the ones that lead you to the animal. But it's a good start though to find some dung. And you can tell from the dung how fresh it is. And then you'll be able to gauge sort of what time they were there or how far behind you are from that animal. And certain animals like to drink at different times of the day, so again, that could assist you. But we haven't even had any fresh elephant dung, to be honest. It's just been their tracks. So maybe they're from the other day. Maybe they're not particularly fresh, and they're just the tracks that are, well, on the roads that we haven't driven. But we're going to keep making our way towards the hyena den now. Hopefully we'll find some spotted creatures there. It seems as though Scott has got stripes on the brain because he's still with some zebra.
Yes, these zebra continue to toy with us. Are they going to decide to cross through these rapids, or will they head off into the distance beyond? Only time will tell. There's a few Thomson's Gazelle that we can also see with them that may get caught up in the excitement if they do decide to cross. There you can see a few Tommies running through. And it's always an interesting thought what will provoke them to eventually take the plunge. Hello to Tesla. who's just 7 years old, you've asked if these are the same zebra that we get in Juma. And no, they are not. They are slightly different. They're also a plains zebra, but you get a few different types of subspecies. The ones we have here in the Masai Mara have got a very clean and distinctive coloration of either black or white. So now I've zoomed on these ones. You can see between the black and white stripes, there's no shadow stripe, whereas the individuals in Juma, you'll see a light brown kind of faded stripe in between the two black stripes on the white stripe. So they are slightly different. These appear to be more clean, but they are both plains zebra. Good question, and I'm hoping Taylor or Tristan may be able to find you some more zebra down in Juma, and we'll be able to clearly show you the difference. I think Taylor had some earlier, and I noticed myself those very distinctive shadow stripes, which basically make the Juma zebra look a little bit more dirty, I guess. Very good. Now, I've been searching the other cams, can't seem to find too much action going on, but anything can change at the blink of an eyelid. We often get ambushed by these river crossings when they begin to unfold, and it's super, super exciting. I've only managed to be in the right place at the right time to observe two crossings that happened in short succession after one another. It was incredibly exciting. So exciting that my control of the cameras was compromised greatly from all the excitement, and I was kind of flinging the camera all over the show, often missing the action. But this has been good practice this afternoon. Okay, we're going to flip over to Main South to see what's happening there. We were on Main North, so now we've just popped a little bit further downstream. The other camera is up to the left of where we're going now. Oh, there's something on the horizon, I think. Let's see what that is. Is it a bush? Yes, that is a bush on the horizon. Hello to Breebury. You're interested to know if the river levels will rise. And yes, they could well. We're going to be expecting more rains as we head closer towards kind of November. There's the short rainy season in November in Kenya. However, in the Mara, due to the altitude up here, there's often a lot of rain outside of the main rainy seasons in Kenya. So how the rainy seasons work in Kenya is the short rains, like I said, for the month of November, and then the long rains in kind of March, April. Now, you do get certain areas that get rain outside of those rainfall times, and the Mara being one of them. You usually find it's the higher altitude areas that get more rain. Other areas where I was working before I came up here, an area called Samburu, literally gets no rain outside of those rainy periods, at least not in the year that I spent there. So what that means is we could well expect to get a little bit more rain, even if it's not here. There could be rain upstream in the catchment area that will cause this river to flow more ferociously. At the moment, it's kind of a trickle compared to what it can get to. So good conditions for the wildebeest and zebra who need to cross this river, along with the topi, Thomson's, gazelle, eland from time to time. We haven't captured any eland crossing yet, but it's something we will be able to capture. Another thing that I'm hoping to be able to capture soon is a leopard slinking along this river. It'll be great to get one on these river cams, and I'm certain hiding somewhere in these bushes, one day we're going to find one lazing on one of the rocks. Okay, we are going to be sending you back onto Tristan's vehicle.
Sorry about it. Well, we're all the way down near Chitwa at the moment, so we're looking for any sign of Hosanna. I've just come onto Chitwa and we've got some kudu that are just milling around, which is not a positive sign for finding Hosanna. I would have hoped that maybe he was somewhere in this area, although the pan behind me that used to hold water is completely dry at the moment, which typically would suggest that he's maybe moved either deeper into Little Gari or maybe he's gone down towards Chitwa Dam itself. So I'll just go check on the cut line and see if I can't find any tracks for him, but at this stage it looks as though he's not here, and with the Kudu being around and them being so relaxed, it would typically mean that Hosanna is not around. Now our Kudus themselves I think are heading down towards Chitwa Dam for a drink by the looks of it. They are slowly moving in that direction. I'm going to try and get up a little bit further because it looks like it opens out. We might be able to get a really nice view of them, so I'm just going to try and see if I can't get here somewhere. There we go. That's a bit better. Now they're at least out in the open, and they're doing what is typical of Kudu, which is generally just to move away from you. They like to be hidden and behind things, and so as soon as they feel like you're watching them and they're in an open clearing, they will typically then move right behind trees, and they know that they can then blend a lot better down there, or behind there should I say, and as you can see they do. They blend in very well. I think what we'll do is we'll just carry on towards Chitwa. I think they're going to probably pop out down at the dam itself at some point, but before we get to Chitwa I just want to check around here, because I know Ali has found Hosanna here once before on this termite mound straight in front of me, and it's a good place just to have a little look around. There sometimes is lots of shade here, and for a leopard that maybe wants to have a nap and watch what's going on around the dam, it's actually not a bad place to be. And I remember Shavambalana used to spend a little bit of time here. I often used to see him in the section and on the termite mound itself, so it's a good place to check around. Now I've also just heard a pearl-spotted owlet. This would be Byron's favorite bird, which I think is in this marula tree. But while we try and see if I can't find this pearl-spotted owlet, let's go across to Taylor McCurdy and see what's happening at the hyena, whether or not it's busy or if it's empty.
No one was home, sadly. I have a suspicion they've left that den, because I've been there a couple of times and I haven't seen as much activity, even just in terms of footprints around there. They're still going up and down the road though, and I have to admit this is the second time I've been to that den and I get a slight smell of decay. So I wonder if Scarback's little cub maybe didn't die in the den itself, because it's not a very prominent smell, but if you sit there for long enough you do get sort of rotting carcass. And I don't know if the hyenas would actually move something like that other than if they just get up and move and leave it completely. Though hyena are also known to eat their own kind. They don't often let much go to waste in the bush, so I'm not exactly sure, but it just doesn't look like it's as active as it has been. And the other day when we had all the commotion, yesterday morning, with the lions, the Birmingham boys, and the hyenas and the wildebeest carcass, I did see a lot of tracks of hyenas and a couple of sub-adult hyenas actually moving around too. Here's a family of a Nyala. Hi guys. Amongst my dust now. You'll have to wait for the dust to settle so we're able to see them nicely. But they don't seem too worried about life just yet. They're quite happily nibbling on some little shrubs, moving through the golden grass. Now moving away from me, in fact. And I thought, seeing as though pretty much every single evening as safari ends, we've been hearing a leopard soaring, I thought we might as well come and check Galago Pan, check a little bit of Mvubu Road, and then we are going to start heading in the direction of those leopard tracks again, those female leopard tracks, and see if we can figure out where they've gone. So we'll go up Gary Cutline as well, probably do Central again, maybe check around Vulture's Nest and all these areas. Though I can see why the leopards like to come through here. There's often a lot of game around here. Now, Sharon, you said that you're quite amazed as to how the camouflage of the animals and nature sort of work together. They do completely disappear. I 100% agree with you, especially at this time of the year. This is actually the time that the predators tend to flourish in the yellow season, because their golden coats typically disappear. But you can see in Nyala, we see it with a Kudu as well. They do a very, very good job at blending into the vegetation. But this is a fairly open area for Kudu, for Nyala. We typically see them along the drainage lines of the various rivers where it is nice and dense. That's the sort of preferred spot. But they are like most of the animals out here, they can easily adapt to their surroundings. So if they feel as though there's a lot of food for them here and they don't need to go anywhere, there are a couple of drainage systems, so they're just going to stay here. And there's water close by too. This is the same family of Nyala that we see coming into camp on a regular basis. They're the ones, the culprits that eat my chilies and tomatoes, as well as the bushbuck that live around camp. Very naughty animals. Anyways, I'm going to send you back now across to Scott, who's moved on from some mammals and he's decided to do a bit of birding of his own.
Yes, I have been distracted and lost focus on the zebra because one of my favorite ducks, the white-faced whistling duck, has appeared at Main North Crossing. It appears they are finding some nibbles in and amongst the sediment, and most ducks like to feed in shallow kind of water areas like this so that they can reach the bottom where they find algae and other little bits of plant matter that clearly they are enjoying. And as their name suggests, they have a whistling sound when they call, something like this. That, at least, is my impersonation. Probably not the best. Oh, a yellow-billed stork, some crocodiles over there. A tiny little, I'm fairly certain, three-banded plover, this little critter here. Actually, no, that looks like a sandpiper of sorts. Not a three-banded plover. Let me try and tweak the focus. Or is it a three-banded plover? Oh, no, it is a three-banded plover. You can faintly make out the bands there, but I'm not doing a good job focusing, so I'm going to rush out of there before I continue to make a fool of myself. Let's zoom across and see what the zebras are up to. There was a herd that was lingering on these banks, thinking about crossing, but it appears they may have moved on. Have they? Are you anywhere to be seen? No, they are still there. So there's still a chance that these zebras may pluck up the courage and decide to plunge into the gauntlet and cross this river. Ah, well, there's some good news that's just come from Tristan's vehicle. However, he has been subsequently attacked by a few gremlins. Fear not, though. I'm sure he's going to just reposition the vehicle, get into a good network or signal spot, and then call you back for something exciting that I love to see and haven't seen for quite a while. Neil, you'd like to know, what time do the animals like to come down to drink? As far as I'm aware, I've noticed they kind of like to come down at mid-morning and kind of midday as a general rule, but I haven't been manning these river cams very much, so I do not have heaps of experience regarding this. But what I do have is some good information, and that is that Tristan has chased off the gremlins and you are about to enjoy one of the greatest things you can see in Africa.
Well, we have the best thing that anyone could ask for in an afternoon, and that is the Ellies swimming at Chitwa Dam. You can see they are coming out, but there's lots of them down in the further parts of the dam that are still swimming, and these two, I think, we're going to have a little push around, and then maybe we'll head back into the water. I don't think they're done with their swimming just yet, although it seems as though they're striding away. The one was in for quite a while, and we're just trying to get our signal to stabilize, and you can see the other one closest to us has actually not been in at all. For some reason, that particular one is not interested in swimming today. Where are you two off to? They are doing a bit of cutting at the lodge, and I think they're getting a little bit upset by the sound of the chainsaw that is just trimming some of the trees at the lodge, which is what happens sometimes, is because some of the trees grow into the thatch and cause a lot of damage. So you will find that they get a little bit grumpy with the sound of the chainsaw, and I'm sure they will end up coming back into the water at some stage. The problem is I can't just drive off because our signal is a little bit on the unstable side, so I'm going to try see where these two end up. But I absolutely love when they swim at Chitwa Dam. It is the best thing. And I'm so glad that we found some Ellies, because I've had an elephant withdrawal, that's for sure, and I believe a lot of you are excited to find Ellies at Chitwa Dam and that they're swimming. I'm going to try and see if I can't just sneak slightly forward that we can see the rest of them, because the others are just on the other side of the island on the far end, and I'm hoping that our signal will stay. It should, given that we're not moving too far up and down, but there they are right in the distance, just having an absolute whale of a time. And I'm going to try and get a little bit closer just now and see if I can't get those shots a little bit nearer than what we are. But you can see there's 3 of them there that are busy having a great time. They're pushing each other, they've been splashing and carrying on, and it is the best thing when elephants swim. They seem to have the most joyous time. There's always splashing and pushing and shoving and climbing up on top of each other, and they seem to do it for hours. It's really quite amazing to watch how long young bull elephants will swim when they have the opportunity. This is, I think, about the 3rd time in the last 2 weeks that we've seen elephants swimming at Chitwa Dam, and they tend to swim for most of the afternoon. It really is quite something to watch. Now, Craig, I'm going to try and get you a little bit closer because that is very far away. And it's difficult because we do have this island in between us and the elephants, and so they keep going behind the island, which is not ideal. Our other 2 Ellies are still just playing with one another here and kind of messing around and having a little bit of a game as they do, and I'm pretty sure they're going to come down and join the other 2, or other 3, should I, that are down in the water a little bit later. It's quite common to see young bulls separate out like this around the dam, so hopefully we will see that's just flown out of the tree in front of me, which is just moving away, and try and see if I can't.
Sorry everyone, I'm trying to listen to the radio. Those gremlins are pesky. Whereabouts is that Madoda Ingwe? See if I can get an update. They've said something about Tingana, but I don't actually know whereabouts they're talking about. Can any station just confirm the lock of that Madoda Ingwe, please? Okay, that sounds like it's on Torchwood. That's all I need to hear from Andrew. So unfortunately not an area we can go, but I think the staff at one of the lodges have seen that male leopard go. He's obviously gone for a drink at one of the dams, so well, that crosses Tingana off of our list unless he decides to pop around a little bit later. We're back on Central now. I've just gone past Gowrie Cutline. There were no tracks coming out over here, but I want to just do Central again. I was thinking of maybe doing Battalier Road because we haven't driven Battalier Road for quite some time, so I think that might be a goodie. And apparently Tandi and Tumba crossed onto the property at some point as well, but I didn't see one track coming in from Cheetah Cutline, and I drove the whole of Cheetah Cutline very, very, very slowly, so I don't know where she must have come in from, unless she jumped over the road. But we'll keep checking around here. We're going to just do sort of bumble up and down all these roads until we bump into something. And I'm going to send you across to Scott now, who hasn't got any gremlins, but he's got some crocodiles, and I reckon they'd be good at keeping the gremlins away.
Yes, it would be wonderful if we could employ these crocodilian beasts to steer off all gremlins. I'm trying to work out how many are here. I can count, starting from the front, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then one over here. You can just see its tail, 8. So a whole bunch of crocodiles all enjoying the sun. This one actually has been, just need to be a bit more gentle with the joystick. This one is possibly having too much sun, and that's why it has decided to open its mouth to try and thermoregulate. It's trying to cool off. Now, it's something I've never seen, but I've heard there are certain birds that like to come in and nibble on little tidbits, pieces of meat. Who knows what else they find between those teeth. And that's a great symbiotic relationship that I'm hoping we're going to be able to capture using these river cams. Imagine seeing a little bird clean a crocodile's teeth. Again, it's something that does happen, but I have yet to see that. Now the crocodiles all seem very relaxed with one another now, all piled up together, but Castus is interested to know if they ever become cannibalistic, if times become tough. I guess yes, they possibly could. It's something that I've never witnessed myself, but with a lot of wild animals, when push comes to shove, they will turn on their own species for their own self-preservation. That one's not going to give us a great view. He's facing the wrong way, he or she. What else is lurking? I'm really hoping on spotting a leopard lurking along the riverbed. It's something that will happen at some point and is yet to happen up to date as far as I'm aware. We actually haven't been able to show you many leopard but on the vehicle or the river cams, but it's something we will be able to change in time once we get to know where they're working. Speaking of which, the only leopard I've seen was not far from the camera we're about to show you guys, called the mountain cam, and this is the view basically that I'm looking out on from the migration control room. It's a splendid view. The camera is mounted just above the window that I'm sitting beneath, and the only leopard I saw was over here. Let me zoom in. I'm zooming in on a lone tree in a little rocky outcrop. It will become more clear now. There we go. And he was an absolute brute of a male leopard, and he was lurking just on the left over there in that little rocky outcrop in the center of your frame now, where you can see an impala, and he was looking at some game on the other side. That's a little road that you can see running through the center of your screen. That's our driveway down into the playground that we are so fortunate to be able to explore with you guys. So I saw a monster male leopard there, and he retreated actually down into this little valley over here. So I think he lurks in and around these thick forest-like vegetation that follows a little river watercourse. And that's where I was playing further upstream along that same watercourse is where I was exploring with Eggsy today in search of the secretive Narina trogon, of which we managed to see one. However, it didn't provide us with the easiest photographic opportunities, but I do intend on going back there to be able to try and capture you some wonderful footage. Sadly, we cannot do it live. Let's see what's happening down in the Agama Pride's riverbed. Ooh, there's lots of vehicles there, so I'm guessing the Agama lions are nearby. Let's see if we cannot spot them from a distance. Now, all those vehicles are a sure sign that the lions are not too far away. We're going to battle to see them, though, because they often lurk in this little riverbed, which is running kind of from left to right now as I pan. You can see the vehicles have dotted themselves all around, so obviously not an easy... Oh, I can see a lion in front of the vehicles there. Awesome. I'm at full zoom. Let me try and tweak the iris. I don't know if that's going to help much. No, that doesn't help. But you can see a lioness, and that looks like a sub-adult cub. We wouldn't be able to see the smaller cubs, I don't think, walking right in front of those vehicles, so they've got into pole position. As did we, just from a distance. How cool is this? Spying on people kilometers away from us from the mountain cam. You can see a few other eager guides trying to get their guests into the best spot to view the lions, as all of us would be doing if we were in their shoes. The lioness, I can still see some movement between the two vehicles on the right. It looks like they're going to pop out in front of the vehicle on the right-hand side. The lioness seems to be toing and froing, deciding what to do. Now, for those of you who may be joining this for the first time, this is a pride of lion that we've got to know quite well. They're called the Agama pride. There's 4 lioness and 13 cubs was the last head count. 3 of which are probably around 2 months old, very small little fur balls. Another 3 which are probably 3 or 4 months old, slightly older. And then another 7 which are about 6 or 7 months old. So a whole heap of cubs which have been keeping their mothers very, very busy. Lots of hungry mouths to feed. So they've been doing a good job making do with what little game is in and around their immediate surroundings. There's often zebra. They do a lot of their hunting in this valley that I'm about to show you now, where we actually started off. They come up into this valley and hunt zebra. Zebra is one of their most common prey types, and I'd be surprised if we can't find you any somewhere here. Where are you, zebras? Maybe they've already headed on up the hill, although I can see something that looks kind of white there. Is that a zebra or a stump? Ah, there's some zebra in the forest here. So there are some zebra here. I think that first one may have been one. And I'm told some of you guys are impressed with my eyesight. Thank you. I will claim that because my hearing is terrible. So hopefully my eyes compensate for my bad ears. Brent and Jamie and James basically everyone that surrounds me that knows what they need to listen for out in the African wilderness outperform me and often say, "Can you hear the lions?" And I turn around blankly without hearing anything. So that's my little sad story about the state of my hearing. But thank you for complimenting the eyesight. Let's see if I can get you back in on the lions. Have they popped out into view again? Oh, yeah, they're just to the left of the vehicle now. Now, a lot of you are commenting on the amounts of vehicles in the sighting. Many parts of Africa, most reserves in Africa will have multiple vehicles in one sighting. But the good news is in most parks like that, like this, like in the Masai Mara, people cannot off-road. So animals do have the option, oh, the lion just jumped across a little ravine there. Looks like the cubs are about to follow suit. So the fact that the vehicles can't follow the lions off-road or other animals off-road allows the animals to retreat into places of privacy if they so require. To be honest, though, they are pretty much completely oblivious to the vehicles. They've become used to them over time and there's no threat to them. So don't be alarmed that there are a few vehicles there. It's just in the Sabi sands where we limit sightings to 3 vehicles per sighting. And that just allows the tourists in that sighting a little bit more privacy to enjoy these sightings. I don't think it has more of an impact on the animal's behavior or their state of mind. So don't be alarmed by that. Gremlins General, you say the lions must feel like movie stars, and yes, they certainly must. I hope they feel more so since we've been here, giving a more crisp image to the world in HD in real time. And it really is wonderful that there is this pride of lion here that we've got to know. I'm sure we're going to get to know other prides as well. But these individuals have certainly been our pride and joy so far. But they seem to have disappeared into a zilong grass. So let's see what else is happening in the Mara. Okay, well, I'm going to joggle around on the other river cams, make sure we're not missing out on any action, and we're going to send you over to Taylor to see how she is getting along.